Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action, and it must be your lucky day because today we've got more Bretonnia. This time we're going to be facing off against the Dark Elves here, so let's get straight to it. I've got Lewin leading the way here, plenty of peasant mobs up front, and some spearmen at arms, and lots of calves. So this is sort of the old school way to take down most elf factions. Dark Elves, High Elves, and Wood Elves are all somewhat vulnerable to this. It's just going with massive amounts of cavalry. Who would have thought? Knights Errant and Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis out on the far side. We've got Companions of Quenelle in the center. Hidden in the woods over on the low ground, we've got Grail Knights, 2 units. Knights of the Lion-Hearted as well. Damsel Lore of Life, of course, to keep all those knights rolling. For my opponent, he's got Morathi up in the air. Black Ark Corsairs. Looks like Witch Elves. Nice wide line with plenty of Dark Elf militia troops, with a couple Blackguard out on the flanks for 2 elite options, and a Death Hag also on foot. So yeah, right off the bat, we're going to be moving in, and my intention was to go after Morathi in the air, where she couldn't get support, but my opponent very wisely dives down to the ground here, which is then going to force Lewin down to the ground. He's supporting with the crossbows, but I was hoping that with Lion's Shield active, I could tank out most of the damage and at least get some good hits in on Morathi here. With Sword of Corona active, debuffing her melee defense. We did get one good hit there, but we're now starting to take some hits in return. Morathi, of course, good at melee attack, anti-large armor-piercing weapon strength, so yeah. We are going to go ahead and pull away, try and get back up in the air. Meanwhile, you can see the Knights rolling up and around the flank. We're going to start the Lance Formation charges. Grail Knights just hammering these Corsairs here in the back line. The militia troops running to try and intercept, but oh man, the witches are really the target that I want here. With the magic damage, massive charge bonus of the Grail Knights, they are just going to get absolutely creamed. Almost half their health, more than half their health in a single charge. That's what we like to see as Bretonnia, right? Meanwhile, over here, peasants just bogging down all across the board. Companions of Quenelle getting in here. My intention was to try and rear charge the Blackguard with them, so I'm going to try and keep the companions specifically alive into the late game. But yeah, Morathi comes down here again to the ground to try and pull Lewin down, and with the support of the Death Hag, honestly, it might not be great, but at the same time, Lewin's just such a tank. That being said, he has taken a lot of damage, but of course, as you guys know, that just means Beloved Son of Bretonnia for everyone. So that means 112 charge bonus for these Grail Knights, in case you're wondering, between the Lance Formation and the Beloved Son of Bretonnia, so that is completely fair and balanced, 100%. Meanwhile, over here, same thing, just an absolute circus in the back line as there's just knights charging every which way, pulling in and out, charging again, and yeah, we're just going to keep it in cinematic mode mostly through this back line as it's just absolute chaos of knights in lance formation, charging here and there, to and fro, sending elves flying all over the place, which is ultimately what you guys came here to see, right? I mean, if you didn't, I don't know why you're on this channel, to be honest, but yeah. Oh man, these Witch Elves, they thought they rallied, but they didn't. They absolutely didn't. That's going to be the end of that, and you can see the Dark Elves trying to maintain some kind of semblance of a pocket here. The Blackguard have got some work done. 112 kills, an XP chevron here. These guys 123 kills, no XP chevron yet, but they've definitely cut through a lot of peasants. They just haven't been able to protect all these light sort of militia-grade troops for the Dark Elves. Just got absolutely run over. Nice Soul Stealer here, healing up Morathi, keeping Lewin from healing up too much. At the same time, though, that is going to keep Beloved Son of Bretonnia on for all these troops here, which is going to buff them up, of course. Knights of the Lion-Hearted kind of getting dragged down by spears here. We're going to need to pull them up and around. These Grail Knights had been chasing units off the side of the field, so at this point, though, Morathi follows Lewin up in the air. She's got Deadly Onslaught active. She's going to get some hits in, bring him down to about 1,000 HP, but then he turns around, pops all of the things, including, of course, the very key Sword of Corona, debuffing Morathi's melee defense down to only 13, so he's almost guaranteed to get hits here. And yeah, with predictable results, Morathi's going to take a lot of damage. She's going to do a few hits in return, but if Morathi goes down here, that is going to lead to some serious leadership issues for the Dark Elves, and you can see that's, yeah, down to 86 HP. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion. She terror routes, Lewin is going to give chase, and that's going to put a significant dent on the balance of power. She probably still had quite a bit of Winds of Magic left, so a bit unfortunate there. Defenders of the Fleur-de-Lis just supporting this peasant pocket. You can see they're just kind of cycle charging in and out, even though they're up against spears. These young knights will do their work, especially rear charging, with the peasants providing a nice anvil there. So some classic cavalry tactics, allowing these very awful peasants to punch way above their weight class. Of course, the beloved son of Bretonnia helps. We know peasants up to 26 melee attack with beloved son of Bretonnia, which is something, certainly. So yeah, at this point it's just mostly a cleanup operation. You can see companions, other units here. We're going to try and stay pretty careful that we don't get completely dragged down by Blackguard, obviously. But other than that, there's not really a lot that the Dark Elves can do. This Death Hag also helping to help hold leadership together at this point. But, I mean, she's just one little witch on foot. She can't really do a whole lot against all of these cavalry here. A few Dark Shards still online as well. They're going to get the hammer, or should I say the lance. This is Bretonnia, after all, not the filthy Empire. I mean, I say filthy. I actually do love the Empire. And, in fact, we're going to be taking a look at another Empire replay versus the Dark Elves, because who doesn't like witches getting hammered, right? Right? Am I right, guys? Anyway, companions here, or sorry, defenders, rather, cleaning up some units over on the far side. Those Corsairs over here, sort of circling up on the wagons, getting ready. I've got Sword of Corona on cooldown, and as soon as that's off cooldown, my intention is to just massively alpha strike these two remaining units of Blackguard, which are standing here back to back. Well, I say back to back. They should be back to back, but standing here resolutely, ready to meet their fate. Give these Druki credit. These Blackguard, they certainly are brave, even if they are supremely foolish. But looks like they're going to go ahead and admit defeat there. So yeah, will be a victory for Bretonnia. In terms of the breakdown, I mean, pretty much speaks for itself. Peasants died, knights killed, which is exactly what you want. Pretty much covered the Dark Elves army as well. Not too much else to see here. So let's move on to the second replay I had planned for today. And that is going to be this one right here. And you can see this time we're up against, oh, I already gave it away, Dark Elves. But very interesting composition. Once again, Morathi. This time she's got a Sorceress Laura Fire accompanying her. She's also got 2 chariots, 2 Cold One chariots, 2 Cold One knights, the Regiment of Renown, Cold One Dread Knights. Again, plenty of militia infantry here. Morathi just has Melkos Mystifying Miasma and Soul Stealer. Just as a heads up, in my opinion, it's a huge mistake not to take the Power of Darkness with Morathi. Because she has Greater Arcane Conduit already, with Power of Darkness on top of that, she can get an obscene amount of Winds of Magic. It is just absolutely insane. But yeah, my Pistoliers are going to roll up. You guys know me, my trusted Pistoliers. This is probably one of the best case scenarios for them. They're just going to fill Morathi with bullets. Heh. And yeah, that's going to be a big amount of damage on her so far. She does have Soul Stealer to be able to heal herself back up, but yeah, Morathi doesn't have a whole lot of armor, which is one of her main downsides. So as those Pistoliers pull back, show you the rest of the army. We've got a cannon here, mixed state troops, including the Tattersouls for once, and the Sigmar Sons in the center. This is kind of a retooling of the build that I used against Rigson the other day. I've got an Archlector, Amber Wizard up in the air, Witch Hunter, 2 units of Empire Knights. The Zintler's Reichsguard had been doing some Vanguard shenanigans up against these Dark Riders here, but I'm going to pull them back, not wanting them to get isolated away from the rest of my main force here. The cannon has been opening up and putting in some effective fire. Taking out a few of these Cold One Knights so far, picked off a couple Knights of the Ebon Claw as well. Let's see, up to 9 kills so far, so yeah, a little bit of damage here and there, never hurt anyone. Pistolier's going to go for an aggressive charge here. Just a quick hit and run to try and disrupt the Dark Elves' advance here. Nice danger close pistol shots as well. And the cannon going after the chariot there is going to land one decent hit. It doesn't take a lot to take down these chariot unit models, but at the same time, they are relatively hard to hit. It's kind of an RNG thing. But yeah. This point, the Dark Elves are advancing. They have taken some damage. The balance of power mostly is one-sided already because of the damage on Morathi herself. And keep in mind that she can heal if she chooses to use that Soul Stealer. But the Fireball being used, is it going after the Empire Cannon? No, unfortunately it looks like it's not. One of the best uses of Fireball is to counter-snipe artillery. So In my opinion, it might have been worth it for the Dark Elf player to just sit back with everything and try and snipe out the Great Cannon with fireballs. I mean, again, that leaves Morathi with no magic for Soul Stealers, but it is what it is. Mainline engagement getting underway here. Chariots charging through. You can see, oh man, that Griffin just came down and crushed the one chariot that had been hit by a cannonball earlier and is now going to come support along with the Empire Knights here. Of course, as we know from history, cavalry was the reason that chariots stopped being used in war, right? So it makes sense. Empire Knights would be helpful to counter them here. Do be careful, though. I mean, Colt 1 chariots do armor piercing. They have an armor piercing missile attack. They'll actually do better than you might think against heavy cavalry units, so do be careful. I mean, especially lower tier heavy cavalry like Empire Knights might not do the best, but oh man, Morathi making a huge mistake here again, coming in pistol range. Just gonna come try and assassinate the Witch Hunter. So, I mean, have you guys ever seen a Witch Hunter fight Morathi in melee directly? I mean, it doesn't get more witch hunting than this, right? Granted, the massive pistoliers, you know, supporting from the ground definitely helps. You can see the fireball that just whacked that Amber Wizard there in the background, but yeah, big mistake by Morathi. Once again, she's going to get taken down, and you can see why I smashed these two replays together, because, yeah, both times Morathi being squishy ended up being the downfall, and, you know, Morathi's pretty good, but she requires some really, really good micro and a very specific spell loadout to ensure that she survives, in my opinion, based on my experience. You're more often safer taking someone that's either cheaper or more tanky for the cost. Like, either take Malekith because he's more tanky, or take one of the Supreme Sorceresses because they're super cheap and cost effective. But we'll talk about that in just a little bit here, sort of a wrap up. You can see here, Knights of the Ebon Claw are still fighting. They're kind of surrounded by Spearmen here. I dropped in a summoned Manticore. We've got the Zintler's Reichsguard fighting in here as well. So, oh man, two excellent looking units of cavalry duking it out in the trenches. As one Manticore falls, another makes its way in there, and the Knights of the Ebon Claw, do they actually have immune to psychology? They don't, so they might get terrified away here. The Chariots trying to make their way back in here, and yeah, it's just not enough at this point. The Dark Elves having taken too many losses in the early phases of the battle to really be able to sustain this attack here. And I mean, obviously the map playing a big part of that. This cannon had an excellent line of sight over the whole battlefield, but yeah. Victory for the forces of humanity, this time the Empire, once again over the filthy Dark Elves. Morathi being, sent packing back to Naggarond, which is exactly what we want, right? Yeah, Pistoliers being super cost-effective here, just filling Morathi's face with bullets, which is what we want. Great Cannon helping to take down a bunch of those Cold One Knights as well, pretty much shelling them the entire time, generated excellent value. 43 kills, mostly all Cold One Knights and Dread Knights, so that's great value there. The Empire Knights and Zintler's Reichsguard didn't have too many, like, Witch Elves or, you know, such as a Slaughter to charge down, so instead they were more used as blocking detachments, sort of blocking up the Cav, blocking up the Chariots, and allowing the other units to then get in and get some work done, including these Spearmen, super cost effective. I didn't really highlight it too much, but I was throwing the Accusation out from the Witch Hunter to give that armor sundering to some of the heavy, large units like these Chariots or the Knights, then allows the Spearmen to trade a little bit more cost efficiently into them. So yeah, definitely really like where the new Accusation is at, honestly. I think it's it offers a lot more cool synergy, certainly. As for the Dark Elves, just to kind of wrap things up here, I've been running into a lot of Dark Elf players lately, so I guess time to address some things. Morathi, if you are going to take her, this is, I mean, you don't have to do this, but this is my advised spell loadout. So you're going to want to take Soul Stealer and Power of Darkness only, and just continue to spam Soul Stealer, you know, as many times as you can. If you dedicate all of your Winds of Magic to Soul Stealer and get off, you know, all 3 casts of Power of Darkness to get more Winds of Magic, you can get like 4 or 5 Soul Stealers in a match, which is enough to just about put Morathi at her healing cap. So, you know, she can be extremely survivable. I would definitely recommend Heartrender and Darksword as well. If you plan on using her in melee, take Heartrender and Darksword and take Deadly Onslaught. If you're in a matchup where it's a bit riskier to put her in melee, first of all, I would say consider taking one of the Supreme Sorceresses instead. But if you really want the extra Winds of Magic that Morathi gives you, cut Deadly Onslaught, cut Heartrender and Darksword, because it is a melee conditional item. Granted, it's a really good item. but it is melee conditional, and just bring the wand and, you know, your spell loadouts and everything. Enchanting Beauty does not need to be in melee to be active, so just a heads up there. I have also seen builds with her on foot where you just sort of stick her in like a unit of elite infantry. You stick her like, for example, Blades of the Blood Queen. They have guardians. They can give her some physical resistance. I believe if you take the Death Hags thing, it also gives a little bit of AoE physical resistance. So if you kind of roll them around in a big Death Star together, I mean, this is a nasty unit of infantry. She's already going to be debuffing your enemies heavily, so that can kind of work okay. If you really want to use Morathi, can go with more of an infantry-centric composition, something like this. You know, just pretty wide on infantry. I don't know, I might actually switch out some of these for some Witch Elves here. Yeah, something like that. Get the Sisters of Singing Doom. And then, yeah, maybe grab like some Dark Riders or something. I don't know, just kind of spitballing here. I might need to fine-tune this a little bit more. But just, you kind of get where I'm going with this. You stack up some different physical resistance buffs on Morathi to make her a little bit more tanky on foot. She has got plenty of self-healing as well. She can provide big AoE debuffs so that these infantry trade very cost-effectively into other units. You can even layer on this Chill Blade. Looks like we might need to find a little bit of extra funds somewhere. But that will give an even additional melee attack debuff. So what, -5 plus these other two are both -9, I want to say. -9 and -9, so that's what, -23 melee attack in total. It's an absolutely nasty constant AoE debuff that just wears your opponents into the ground, so that can actually work. But honestly, Morathi's pretty squishy for her price. It's almost always worth it to take almost always worth it, I say. Malekith is extremely expensive, so he can also fall into the same trap, although if you take him on some of his ground mounts, he's not quite so prohibitively expensive. The Chariot especially is a pretty underrated mount in my opinion. Gives him good mobility, good mass, lots of armor-piercing damage. Doesn't have great melee defense, but he can certainly scoot around the battle. And because he's not quite as expensive, you can actually afford to take some of his items. If you do take him up on the dragon, it can be a little bit expensive to take some of these items. I mean, they're all really good, but he gets really, really expensive really fast. On the flip side of that, the Supreme Sorceresses are super, super cheap. They have got a really nice variety of mount selections too. You can take Armor-Piercing Ground Mount, Cold One. You can just take Fast and Cheap with the Dark Steed, Fast in the Air with Dark Pegasus. You can take Air Terror with Manticore, or all the way up to the Black Dragon if you really want some heavy-hitting power on your Supreme Sorceress. And, I mean, you also have a wide variety of selections for Lore of Magic as well. My preferred, honestly, is probably Fire. Fire is just such a good utility lore in so many different matchups, so Supreme Sorceress Lore of Fire is definitely a good pick. Beasts, obviously, is a very good pick as well right now. Manticore summons and all that can definitely be very cost-effective. Honestly, Dark, Death, or Shadow, any of these really can be good if you use them correctly, but again, the main benefit of Supreme Sorceress is that she's cheap, and she has a nice variety of mount selections. Hellebron, I don't know, I don't really have a place for Hellebron in the meta right now, so I'll get back to you on that. Lokir, mostly if you just want to have fun. He's a pretty tanky Footlord, but Footlords are kind of limited in scope anyway. The Dragon makes him pretty expensive, but he also is relatively tanky, although he's not a caster and Lord in one, which is kind of a pain at a Lord of this price, especially when you compare it to Malekith or Morathi, which are casters and Lord in one. And they also have self-healing from Soul Stealers, so yeah, it kind of makes him a tough sell, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Kind of a long-winded video this time, but yeah, sort of a breakdown of the Dark Elves getting pounded by the forces of men. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.